Good day, everybody. It's me, your boy Waddles. Welcome. Bedrock has been busy this week. Earlier this week, there was a Bedrock update, and then one day later, a gigantic, historic Bedrock Beta. In today's video, we're going to talk about both of them. It's a beta breakdown, it's an update. If you'd like me to cover the Bedrock betas a little bit more than I do, leave a like on this video. And if you're new, subscribe. If you subscribe for the great price of £0, you will get a brand new high-quality video in your feed every single day. Consider it. Maybe it's just me here, but these Bedrock version numbers, confuse me. What does the 30 even mean? Earlier this week, Minecraft Bedrock Update 1.17.30 released. This released on September 21st. The Bedrock 1.17.30 update was a small update, but at the same time, it was like a medium update. There's a brand new game rule, some other changes, and some brand new experimental features if you're into the Caves and Cliffs update. Some of these features are actually really interesting. One of these features is completely game-changing. Truly a historic feature. One day later, on September 22nd, Minecraft Bedrock Beta 1.17.40.21, what do those numbers even mean? Brand new beta dropped one day later and changed something even bigger. It's huge. The biggest change inside of the Bedrock Beta does something that has never been done before in any Minecraft update, Java or Bedrock. It's literally never been done before. So check this out. This is a pre-existing chunk, meaning it exists right now. Currently, I'm in the Bedrock betas, but I don't have experimental features turned on. This world ends right down here where it normally would, at about 0. Now, this is normal generation. There's no tricks or anything going on here. If I go ahead and open up more space, you'll see it's just a normal cave, like normal generation. Right now, this is generation. Here's a graph, a chart. If you're completely illiterate, good news. The information on this chart, the graph doesn't matter at all. All we need to do is look at the pictures. So over here on this side is current generation, Minecraft 1.17 and earlier. Over here on this side, the big picture, Minecraft 1.18. I'm over 100% certain that you've heard by now, Minecraft 1.18 is a big update. It's completely changing world generation. The world gets taller, the world gets deeper. New caves, new mountains, height changes, bedrock moves, all the way down to -64. Currently in 1.17 and every other version below, Bedrock sits as 0. There is nothing below Y0 in the overworld. That's great and all until you consider the idea of upgrading an old world. When the developers release a Minecraft update, you can always upgrade your old world. It's pretty cool. You could have a world that has existed since 2011, like Etho, and keep upgrading it, and keep building in it. How would that work if things actually begin to exist below Y0? Like down here, where we are right now, the void. We literally can't even place a block on here. How would that work? We have one chunk right here, then we have another chunk. Let's say this chunk is new. Is there just a wall of bedrock inside of this chunk, or is there new caves, or what? How does that all actually work? If you're familiar with Minecraft and you've been playing the game for a few update cycles and you know about how chunks update, basically, if you upgrade your world from, say, 1.16 to 1.17, if you've ever generated a chunk, that chunk is set forever. Like that. It will never be changed unless you change it. Previously generated chunks do not update. Of course, you can bring the new features like the amethyst block into an old chunk, but you won't load up your world and find a geode randomly generated in your base. That's the exact reason old chunks don't update. If old chunks updated, everything that you built could be completely pointless. You upgrade your world, it's all ruined by some kind of new, weird oak tree variant. Not good. In earlier versions of the Bedrock betas, upgrading your world was actually possible. However, if you upgraded your world, basically, let's say this part is the new generation, you would have a world that goes all the way down to -64, and then all the old generation would be filled in with bedrock. It would be solid bedrock from 0 all the way down to -64. Basically, just a wall. Nothing exists there. So back to my current Bedrock world. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Right now, Bedrock exists basically at Y0. Below Y0, there is nothing. If I break through here, it's a void. Doesn't exist. The most recent Bedrock beta has changed this all. Now we actually know how this is going to be done. And for the first time ever, when an update drops, an old chunk that was already loaded will actually update. So now I've left that world, and I'm going to turn experimental toggles on. Caves and cliffs, right here. We'll activate the experiments. Check this out. As soon as I activated the experiments, I've got a backup version of that world. So this is the old one. This is the new one. Let's go ahead and load that world. And here we are, back inside of the world, and look at this. The bedrock has now completely shifted. That's not bedrock anymore. It's deep slate, the best block in the entire game. But even more importantly, not only is this deep slate, but the world continues. So check this out. If I start digging down here, and if I get insanely lucky, I'll hit a cave. If I get really unlucky, I'll hit absolutely nothing. Bedrock really needs a spectator, just saying. So if I get insanely unlucky, I just keep digging, and then I fall out of the world. It's all the void. The world actually exists down here now. Because of strange loading things, I think I found a cave. Here's a cave, but even more significantly, here is a cave inside of a chunk that was definitely 100% loaded. Brand new diamonds that exist inside of a chunk that already existed. Brand new redstone that exists inside of a chunk that already existed. Deep slate, it's everywhere, that exists inside of chunks that are already existing. I'm pretty sure that this is going to be the very first time a Minecraft update releases and actually upgrades your old chunks, changes things that you've already loaded in. However, it won't change anything that you've already loaded in. Complete side note, there are diamonds all over these caves. Like, this cave system that I'm in, it's really deep. More diamonds the lower down you go, makes sense, but they're literally everywhere. The 1.18 update will upgrade old chunks that have already existed, possibly even for updates now depending on how old your world is, but it won't change anything inside of those chunks because all of the new stuff generates where generation was impossible before. The fact that this change modifies pre-existing chunks so heavily, basically something never done before in an update, isn't the only reason this is significant though. It's also significant because this is the very first look at how upgrading to Minecraft 1.18 is actually going to work. The Caves and Cliffs update has been in snapshots for a long time now. The very first Caves and Cliffs snapshot dropped in November of last year. Eventually, once the big generation changes were implemented in the snapshots, world upgrading from earlier versions was completely cut off. You couldn't take a 1.16 world at the time and upgrade it to 1.17 because the generation was basically completely different. As we all know, eventually 1.17 got changed. The big generation stuff was pushed back to 1.18. By the time 1.17 released, it was definitely possible to upgrade 1.16 to 1.17. Generation didn't change that much. But as of today, inside of the latest Java snapshot, 21W38A, you still can't upgrade pre-existing worlds. 1.17 worlds, no way, and actually with 21W38A, not even 21W37A. Bedrock was the first version of the game, and right now still the only version of the game that can actually handle upgrading worlds from pre-1.18 generation to 1.18 generation. So I'm back over on Bedrock right now. Check this out. This is pre-Caves and Cliffs update. Look at this hill. It's a big hill, but it could be bigger. Up on the surface in pretty much the same exact spot, but this time with 1.18 generation. Look at this wall. And the whole hill in general, yeah, definitely it could get bigger. So I don't know how this didn't generate before, but I guess it didn't. Over here, we actually have a clean cutoff line with these trees, which means if I generated this world in 1.18 for the first time, this probably would be all a gigantic hill, kind of like that one over there. These blends, when we update from the old generation to the new generation, are going to be some of the most interesting things to see because look at this. The river gets completely cut off because of the terrain, and then just giant steep hill. This stuff right here looks like amplified generation or shattered generation. It's like insane looking. And then this. I don't know how we deal with this in survival, but we have this. It exists. The fact that old chunks that existed before 1.18 generation, maybe these chunks were even built in, will now actually get a lowered bedrock level and caves down below Y0 is huge. This is by far the biggest change in the Bedrock Beta and most recent update, but it's not the only big one. There is actually another pretty significant change that you might have heard about if you follow my Java update videos. The change has to do with mob spawning and light level. It's a torch. The torch has a light level of 14. Light level goes down by 1 every block we move away from the light source. So that's 14 right there, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. This block right here that is relatively light compared to all of these areas around us could actually spawn hostile mobs before Bedrock update 1.17.30. To be clear, this is an experimental change. If you want to check this out, you're going to have experimental features turned on. The change has to do with mob spawning. For most hostile mobs to spawn in normal conditions, like this zombie right here, the light level is now going to have to be complete darkness, like 0. So this spot right here is spawnable, but this spot that has a tiny bit of light, not spawnable at all. This is huge. Right off the bat, no matter what else gets added into 1.18, this mob spawning change is going to be one of the biggest changes in the entire update. Mob spawning has worked basically the same for like the entire existence of this game basically, and now it's changing. For once, it's actually going to make sense. The light update just makes sense. If you think about it a little bit, why light level 7? Why was light level 7 so powerful before? Also, for Bedrock players that don't have access to an F3 screen, this is amazing. If it looks even a little bit light, then it's spawn proof. This mob spawning change is also great news for dim light sources. Before the update, anything less bright than a torch was basically useless, at least for lighting up spawns. After the update, something that gives off a low light level like an amethyst shard is actually useful. You could block spawns with it. It's still not the most efficient, but you could. Same goes for something like the redstone torch that gives off a little bit of light, or even the soul torch that is now relatively like insanely bright. It's actually useful. In my opinion, this is a great change. It's going to make lighting up some of those big gigantic 1.18 caves actually possible. Card on screen right now to another video talking all about this light change if you want to know more. In Minecraft Bedrock 1.17.30 in the overworld, respawn anchors explode if you try and use them. Now, depending on the circumstance, this is either a good thing or a bad thing. But let's say somebody gets inside of your world that shouldn't be. Theoretically, if some kind of monster got inside of your world and had access to all of your respawn anchors and glowstone, they could place it down, use them repeatedly all over the place, and cause a lot of damage really fast. There is now a way around it. That is great. Bedrock Update 1.17.30 added a brand new game rule that Java Edition actually doesn't have right now. Game rule respawn blocks explode. It's a true or false value. If you have it to true, which is the default, then respawn anchor will explode in the overworld. If I set it to false, then respawn anchor is fine in the overworld. Now the respawn anchor still works as intended. You can't actually set your spawn at it in the overworld. You just can't explode it. It's going to be the same thing for beds in the nether. If we head into the nether with the bed with this game rule set to false and try and use the bed, nothing will happen. The same thing for the end. This game rule is great for preventing griefers and maybe great for creating a new speedrunning category. By far the fastest way to take out the dragon is definitely using beds. If you set this game rule to false, try and take out the dragon with a bed, it's not going to work. You're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way. Bedrock Update 1.17.30, better known as the Structure Block Corner Mode Update. Structure blocks now have corner mode. I always forget how amazing structure blocks are on Bedrock Edition. This UI right here, breathtaking, simply amazing, it's great. Brand new mode is corner mode. It's used for detecting corners of structures. You'll have to have this corner mode set to the same structure name. If you get everything technical set up correctly, the structure blocks will work together to help you save structures. Bedrock 1.17.30 also changed a few other things. Back to the menu. This right here is a shortcut to the achievements. I've finished them all, trust me. Like, definitely trust me, I have time for that. I haven't touched grass in years. And then over here, dressing room right here. This is so clean. This is beautiful pixel art. Whoever did this, big shout out. I would like to shout out them. This is so nice. It's so simple. Maybe I'm easily impressed or whatever, but like, it looks so good. Like, those icons, I love it. And alongside those changes, of course, we have even more work on the 1.18 generation. All of this stuff right in here. Performance improvements, stability improvements, gameplay improvements, mob improvements, bug fixes. All of that type of stuff. I'm not as familiar with Bedrock Iron Golem spawning, but this is the interesting one right here. Tweaked Iron Golem spawning logic to better match Java. As a Java player, I genuinely feel bad for Bedrock. The Iron Golem spawning mechanics seem so much more confusing. I sincerely wish that the changelogs would be a little bit more specific with this type of stuff, like what actually changed here. If you play Bedrock, you've never played Java and made an iron farm before, it is so easy on Java. Like, it's really straightforward and easy to understand. From what I've messed with on Bedrock, it's way more confusing. Hopefully one day, iron farms will be identical on Bedrock and Java, and closer to the Java ones too, to be clear. But for now, they're still not. As for Bedrock Beta 1.17.40.21, the big one is upgrading old chunks with new caves down below them. It's really amazing, groundbreaking stuff. Bedrock Java parity gang though, there is one big thing right here. Vanilla parity. Players are now able to activate Elytra gliding while moving upward. This one is actually great because it looks like the Elytra will be getting a big upgrade in Minecraft 1.18. The final experimental snapshot made some really nice Elytra changes. As of Java Snapshot 21 W38A, upgrading to Minecraft 1.18 from anything that isn't the current snapshot is still impossible. As of the latest Bedrock Beta, it's definitely possible. How do you think it'll work on Java? Do you think it'll work the same as Bedrock, or should it work differently? Throw it in the comments. If you missed the beta breakdowns, you think I should do more of them, leave a like on today's video. That's it for this one. Check out my Twitter for life updates, my music takes, memes, and some things that mean absolutely nothing. It's linked down in the description. I'll see you tomorrow.